Breaking news on Martyn Lucas Investor. We are looking at Evernorth's $1 billion XRP bet. This is ultra bullish. This is why I'm invested in XRP, and this is why I'll be buying more if it goes lower. Look at this news. This is an absolute game changer. I think this is the biggest news that we've got for XRP all year, and people are sleeping on it and people don't fully understand it. So in this video you'll have the full deep analysis about what it all means. There's too many and I hate it. Fake YouTube channels out there telling you XRP is going to $1,000 tomorrow. That's not the case. This is not what this channel is about. This is about giving you the real honest information on what the news is. And today's news you don't even need to hype up because it's so big. So Evernorth's $1 billion XRP bet, a new kind of treasury company. A landmark deal is shaping around Evernorth Holdings Inc, a newly formed US digital asset company backed by Ripple Labs, SBI Holdings, and major crypto investors including Pantera Capital, Kraken, and GSR. The firm plans to go public for a merger with Armada Acquisition Corp, targeting over $1 billion in proceeds and a NASDAQ listing under the ticker symbol XRPN. So get ready for that ticker symbol. Again, it's not confirmed that that's the ticker symbol yet because they're not IPOing yet. However, that's the one they're going for, and normally if that's the one they apply for, that's the one they get. XRPN will be the ticker symbol of this new company. That's sort of a XRP Treasury company. Just like MicroStrategy buys Bitcoin and holds it, this company will be doing the same, but there's more to it than just that. And they're looking to buy $1 billion worth of XRP. So, unlike traditional SPAC listings, Evernorth's purpose is singular and transparent. It's to build the world's largest publicly regulated XRP treasury. The company will use most of the capital raised for the open market purchase of XRP, and that's key, open market purchase. I'll explain why that's key in a second. Not token transfers, signaling genuine demand and price exposure. A clause in the merger filings reportedly requires Evernorth to buy XRP equal to its advance funding within 10 days of closing, a language that underscores a commitment to market-based accumulation. So a lot to unpack there. They sort of have to use that money to buy XRP. They're sort of the filings suggest they have to do it within 10 days. Again, this is what it all suggests. And it suggests that they'd have to do it on the open market, so no behind the door deals with Ripple, for example. So it's all on the open market, and that means a lot. So remember to hit the like button if you haven't done so already. It takes 1 second, and it will help the channel a lot. So thank you for doing that. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. If you're tired of all the nonsense and you want the real news, we'll give you the real news. So please do subscribe. Remember, nothing I say is ever financial advice. It's my thoughts and opinions only. So please not buy or sell based off anything I say. So once listed, Evernorth's model will blend institutional reserve management with active on-ledger participation. Rather than simply holding XRP as a speculative asset, it plans to grow XRP, its XRP per share value by engaging in institutional lending, liquidity, provisioning, and DeFi yield opportunities, while operating validators on XRP Ledger to strengthen network decentralization. So again, adds to the notion that some people say XRP is not decentralized. It's very decentralized, and they're going to help it make it even more decentralized. So the transaction is expected to close in Q1 of 2026, in the next few months. The next 4 or 5 months. So Evernorth is this will position Evernorth as the first US listed company designed for from inception to treat XRP as core balance sheet asset, a structure that can redefine how institutional investors gain exposure to the token. What is the significance of this, and what implications does this have? So from the corporate treasury perspective, this deal is noteworthy for 3 primary reasons. This is all from our very own newsletter. It's our own research. Please do go check it out. It's the first link in the description. And you can also get a free trial. There's also a free plan as well. From a corporate, so there's 3 reasons why this is really big. Scale and visibility. A publicly listed vehicle with over $1 billion of capital targeted for XRP accumulation would mark it one of the largest and probably the largest publicly traded XRP Treasury vehicle to date. Institutional accessibility. Many institutional investors are constrained in direct token holdings. This structure offers an equity based proxy for exposure to XRP. Remember, lots of jurisdictions, including here in the UK, you still can't buy XRP as an ETF. And even in the US, there's not even an XRP ETF there yet. But many jurisdictions, you can't just buy an XRP ETF, you have to go out and buy the crypto. This is an alternative way of buying XRP. Maybe you can buy in a tax advantage account. Again, I don't give advice, but if this comes to the UK and we still don't have an ETF, I might prefer to buy this company, depending on the valuation, then buy XRP because I can put it into in an ISA, which is a sort of our tax-free account, because it's a company. So it allows more people to indirectly hold XRP. The demand and supply dynamic. Large open market purchases, which is what they are suggesting they're going to have to do, of XRP reduces the available float. Remember, there's a float out there with any stock or crypto you're buying, how much is actually available to trade on exchanges and buy. This is going to reduce that float significantly. Given the comparative smaller scale of existing XRP corporate treasury, this move could exert more pronounced supply pressures than analog moves in larger markets. So yeah, because they have to do it in 10 days, they don't have time to just scatter it on a monthly purchases. And again, this is what's implied out there again. Don't take my word for every single thing because it's still a very new deal, but it's implied out there that that they have to purchase it all within 10 days, and it's it's looking very likely that this is going to have to be done in an open market way. So if that happens, which I'm 99% confident that's the way it's going to go, you've got a large open market purchase, which is going to reduce the float, add a lot of volume in a day, and they have to do it in 10 days. That will, whenever that happens, and that looks like it's going to be in Q1 of 2026, have a direct impact on the price of XRP. A lot of the time, previously, if companies were buying XRP, they might be buying it from Ripple behind the scenes. They might not be doing it on the open market, and it doesn't have as much of an effect. This will have a direct effect. So governance and transparency commitments are built into the deal. The SBI announcement states that purchases are on open market. So if you actually look at their announcement as well, it looks like it will be on the open market. The financial reporting will be audited by a major firm, and that vehicle will be employ independent governance. So there you go. So let's compare it to Bitcoin, Ethereum. Is this significant? Is it nothing? I'll look at the XRP chart and where I expect it all to go as well. So bear with me. So first, let's look at Bitcoin. Public companies and governments collectively hold about 1.65 million in Bitcoin, valued about 178 billion, representing 7.8% of the total Bitcoin supply. Mainly, the most prominent one is MicroStrategy. Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy. They hold more than 640,000 Bitcoin, and that's about 3% of the supply. Anchors from a corporate treasury model. Bitcoin remains the most established example. Firms raise equity or issue convertible debt explicitly to accumulate Bitcoin for long-term balance sheet. We know all about that. We know what companies are doing that. We know Strategy is the main one doing it. What's important to note is that they continue to issue debt just to buy Bitcoin. So they're really pushing the value of Bitcoin up, and that can start happening with XRP. The second most important thing to note is it's about 7.8% of the supply is held by companies and governments. And MicroStrategy being the biggest one, they hold about 3% of the supply for Bitcoin. If you compare that to Ethereum, you're looking at public entities holding about 4.68 million Ethereum. That's roughly around $18 billion, or 3.8% of Ethereum circulating supply. A little bit smaller than Bitcoin, much smaller than Bitcoin. But there is a lot of Ethereum corporate treasury companies. Now compare that to XRP. Corporate and institutional holdings of XRP are smaller in absolute dollars, but significant relative to the asset's market size. This is actually quite interesting. Remember, Bitcoin's in a different category. Ethereum is double or higher market cap than XRP. Is sort of double XRP's market cap, if not a little bit higher, if you're looking at depending on which way you look at the valuation. But XRP is actually not too far behind Ethereum, considering it's a much, much smaller token. So publicly disclosed positions total roughly 11 to 12 billion. That's how much is in corporate treasury for XRP, 11 to 12 billion, led by SBI Holdings Incorporated, which alone reports near 1.6 trillion, about 10 billion. This is not even taking into account the fact that Ripple is basically a corporate treasury as well, but it's private, it's not public. So XRP actually has more than Ripple. There's more XRP locked up than there is Ethereum, taking into account that Ethereum has a much larger market cap. So it's actually very, very interesting. So there's about 12 billion by SBI Holdings, which alone reports holdings near about 10 trillion US dollars. 10 billion US dollars. Other listed participants include Trident Digital Tech Holdings, Weebust, together targeting several hundreds of $1 million in XRP reserves. An average market price of about $2.45 for XRP. These corporate balances equate to around 4.7 billion XRP. That's not even taking into account how much XRP Ripple holds, which is about 45 billion. Around 8% of the 59 billion tokens in circulation. By comparison, that concentration places XRP's treasury closest to Bitcoin's institutional share that its market capitalization would suggest. If Evernorth Holding completes its planned $1 billion open market accumulation, total corporate treasuries could exceed 5 billion XRP, lifting treasury ownership to roughly 9% of circulating supply and scale outweighing levels of Ethereum's corporate holdings. So it looks like, even forget about Ripple's holdings, which you shouldn't forget about because they're holding it and they're quite a large hold of it. But if you're looking at public companies' holdings, 9% of the circulating supply after this deal will be with treasury companies. If you look at Ethereum, only about 3.8% of Ethereum circulating supply is in treasury companies. If you look at Bitcoin, about 7.8% of Bitcoin supply. So XRP is going to have massive, massive demand from treasury companies, and the supply of XRP is going to go into shock, in my opinion. Again, not financial advice. So this is Brad Garlinghouse's X post. Remember, too many people get confused. Brad Garlinghouse is not the CEO of XRP. Brad Garlinghouse is the CEO of a company, Ripple. There's thousands of companies or hundreds of companies like Ripple that use XRP. The reason everyone talks about Brad is because obviously his company holds a lot of XRP. But don't get confused. You can just see Evernorth is also going to have a bigger impact to XRP's price than Ripple potentially. So this is his announcement yesterday. He says, Asheen and the team are building something special with Evernorth XRP. We are proud to partner with him and proud to join the incredible set of investors, including SBI Holdings, Pantera Capital, Kraken, GSR, and Rippleworks to support Evernorth as it participates in institutional lending, liquidity provisions, and DeFi yield opportunities for XRP. Anish, the CEO at Evernorth, said, "I'm proud to share that we've launched Evernorth XRP, a first of its kind institutional vehicle building to accelerate XRP adoption. With over a decade of uptime and rapidly growing DeFi ecosystem, XRP is well positioned for adoption, and Evernorth is built to meet that moment." So Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse quickly endorses the Evernorth launch, calling it something special, highlighting Ripple's pride in backing the project alongside SBI Holdings. His post on X framed this initiative as an extension of Ripple's mission, advancing real-world utility and institutional integration for XRP. Garlinghouse involvement signals that Ripple sees Evernorth not as a separate venture, but as part of a broader strategy to embed XRP with regulated financial infrastructure. Ripple's own participation as an equity investor and advisor ensures technical and strategic alignment between the company that built the ledger and the new entity positioned to scale its institutional use. We've also got David what's his name again? David Schwartz. Yeah, David Schwartz. He's now joined this company as well. That's very interesting. We'll come on to that in a second. So for investors, Garlinghouse public endorsement matters. Ripple has historically been selective about lending its name to third-party ventures. His backing effectively validates Evernorth as a flagship effort to bridge XRP from enterprise payments into capital markets, giving it both legitimacy and native momentum heading into its Nasdaq debut. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is the speech is starting in. I know we've got 5 minutes, so yeah, let's continue. Okay. So Evernorth. So what is Evernorth? What is the breakdown on Evernorth? And then we'll come on to the impact that the open market can have. We'll come on to the charts. We'll come on to David Schwartz. All of that is coming up in this video. So Evernorth, the detailed breakdown. So who is it? What is it? Structure and listing. Evernorth will merge with a SPAC, Armada Acquisition Corp, and transition to a public company listed on Nasdaq under XRPN, subject to closing. So, what are they using the money for? The IPO. The majority of net proceeds will fund open market XRP purchases to build the treasury. The remainder will be directed to corporate purposes, working capital expenses, yield, DeFi deployment. The business model, this is not a passive hold. This is not just a passive hold token and park model. It includes operating validators on the XRP Ledger. They're going to make it more decentralized. They're going to be providing liquidity and institutional lending services using XRP. They're making XRP a better asset. They're increasing the utility of XRP. So they're going to be providing liquidity and institutional lending services using XRP. They're going to be participating in DeFi using XRP as collateral or a yield instrument. They're going to be participating in governance and audit, independent governance promise. Major audit for engaged open market purchase mandated. The timeline is we expect this to close in Q1 of 2026, and the backing of credibility is backed by Ripple Labs, SBI, Pantera, Kraken, GSR, and participation by Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen. So I'm going to come on to what the impact is for the price, because it's an open market purchase. We're going to come on to David Schwartz as well. We're going to come on to the key takeaways for XRP investors. The SBI Holdings. Remember, this is a massive company. This is probably the largest company that holds XRP. Long-time partner of Ripple and long-time holder of XRP. They've just made an announcement today, October the 21st, on this and how they're actually investing in this as well, and their thoughts on all of this. So a lot to go through. So let's continue with the story. Now moving on to the impact of open market purchases. So remember, they have pledged that they're going to be doing it on the open market. That brings a few different characteristics to what can happen with XRP's price. It's a little bit different than how others might play it, which is actually good for the XRP holders. It's a bit more transparent and it can have a supply shock. Remember, nothing I say is financial advice. So the impact of open market purchases, what are those impacts? A critical detail in Evernorth's filings is the requirement to purchase XRP on the open market rather than receive allocations from Ripple or affiliates. That distinction matters. Open market acquisition means that every dollar raised translates into direct demand on public exchanges, OTC desks, and market maker inventories. This is having a global effect on the flow. It's not just you're paying someone and then they're giving you XRP. It's happening on public exchanges. So at current prices, what can this mean? At current prices, $2.40, $2.50 per XRP, which is fairly low in my opinion. Again, it can go lower, but my target for XRP for the bull run is $10 targets, and the next bull run is $50 to $100. So yeah, I mean, quite low. They can go lower if we go into a bear market today and we don't have that bull market. I've said XRP can come down to 50 cents to $1. I'll just buy more. I'm not selling any until we reach targets of maybe $5 a cycle. Anyway, at current prices, $2.40 to $2.50 per XRP, a US, $1 billion US dollars deployment equates to roughly 400 to 420 million tokens, or about 0.7% of the circulating supply. While that figure may appear modest, concentrated buying by a single regulated entity within a defined time window can meaningfully tighten liquidity and affect price discovery, particularly on XRP's spot markets, where daily turnaround averages US about what so the volume's around 1.5 to 2 billion. So that's how effective it is. The fact that there's two things key here. It's open market purchases, so they are going to be taking away from the float, and secondly, they've got a 10-day time span, which is sort of reported of how quickly they have to buy those purchases. So it will have a price on the effect on the price. It's nothing crazy. So analysts note that inflows of this magnitude equate to roughly 1 days of global spot liquidity. That could push XRP prices as much as 10 to 15% higher during the accumulation window if executed quickly, or by several percentage points even under a more gradual schedule. The actual effects will depend on execution strategy, OTC participation, and concurrent market conditions. So it's very, very difficult to say how much can it push the market up. Some research would suggest current conditions, current prices, not much going on in the markets, low volume. Oh, sorry, normal volume. You might get a 10 to 15% pump on this. It could also be a 50 to 100% pump. If the sentiment is good around the time, if there's low flow, if people are front running this trade, if there's short squeezes, if the market conditions are great, if the S&P 500 is going up, and you then got someone buying $1 billion worth of XRP, maybe not over 10 days, maybe buying it over 2 days, that's when you can have XRP move 25, 50, 100% in a day. So it really depends on the structure. If you're crashing, if you're in a bear market and you're going down and down and down, and then someone buys $1 billion worth of XRP, it might not even have an effect depending on how many sellers there are. So it really depends on that market condition. But the fact that it's on the open market, it will most likely have an effect on price. If it was not open market, then you wouldn't even know it's going on and you wouldn't even have a chance for it to go up 20, 30, 40, 50, 100%. Let's talk about David Schwartz for a second as well. And also, let's talk about Chris Larsen, because Chris Larsen has been actually, his wallet has been moving again. Last time Chris Larsen sold some XRP, I think he sold it or something. That actually marks sort of the peak for XRP, potentially of this cycle, but so far in the cycle. So Chris Larsen, he had an X post and it says, "Congrats to Ashko Blue and Evernorth XRP team on today's launch. Evernorth fills the missing link today in XRP's capital markets and XRP's usage in DeFi products." He's saying it's great. There's a gap in the market. We don't have treasuries, many big treasuries, and not much DeFi usage for XRP. So you're filling a gap. And then he says, I'm proud to invest 50 million XRP in the firm. You may see some wallet movements on this. So we have seen the wallet movement. He's basically, instead of giving cash and investing in a project, he's just investing with XRP. So in a way, he is selling his XRP. It's an interesting way of saying it. Of course, this is the way he has to say, I'm proud to invest 50 million. He's selling, essentially, but he's investing. So either way, you can word it how you like. He's basically putting his money, which he's perfectly entitled to do, to invest into this company. The good thing is this is not just a random company he's investing in. This is also basically an XRP Treasury company. So that money is basically going to be kept in XRP. His investment is still in XRP. So that was in reply to this X post. Big news. We're going public. We've entered into a business combination agreement with Armada Acquisition Corporation, a transaction expected to raise over $1 billion, creating the largest public XRP treasury company on the Nasdaq under XRPN. So just to let you know what's going on there. We've also got David Schwartz, who basically quit from Ripple, but then moved to the board. And he said he's going to make an announcement about what he's doing next. And he's back. Everyone thought he was leaving the XRP community. He's in it more than ever. So David Schwartz, the architect, returns. Perhaps the most eye-catching element of Evernorth's announcement is the return of David Schwartz, Ripple Chief Legal Technology Officer, or not anymore, and one of the original architects of XRP Ledger itself. He was working on this years and years ago, the original architects. It's great to have him back. Schwartz has been central to XRP's technical credibility since its inception. The engineer who helped design its consensus mechanism and guided its evolution through regulatory headwinds, performance upgrades, and interoperability developments. His decisions to step in as strategic advisor to Evernorth signals more than personal endorsement. It represents a bridge between XRP's technical foundation and its institutional future. It's great to have him back. Here's his announcement on X. He says, XRP community, I promised I'll have an update on my next adventure soon, right? Well, here's the start. I'll be a strategic advisor to Evernorth XRP, held by my friend Ashko Blue. Evernorth was founded as a regulated, scalable investment vehicle to tap opportunities for XRP in DeFi and capital markets, extending the entire XRP ecosystem. I'm excited to get started. For investors, this matters. Schwartz presence ensures that Evernorth's treasury model won't simply hold XRP, but will understand how to operate within its ledger architecture. Remember, he's the chief technological officer, or he was. He knows everything about XRP. He basically built XRP. He was one of the people that worked on it on the very, very early days. Some people say, oh, wait, he did also work on Bitcoin, or early wise. Anyway, he knows exactly what he's doing. So this is more evidence that this is not just a random company who knows nothing about XRP, just buying it and holding it. They are using it. They want to develop it. They want to make it better. And who better to have on board than David Schwartz? So it shows they're not just going to simply hold XRP, but will understand how to operate with its ledger architecture, running validators, leveraging RLUSD stablecoin liquidity, and integrating with DeFi protocols natively. His advisory role effectively ties Evernorth back to the protocol design philosophy. Utility first, speculation second. It also marks the first time in years that Schwartz has attached his name to a commercial initiative beyond Ripple itself. This is something big. He's been with Ripple his whole life. He's not just gonna, and he's probably was getting paid a lot. He's not just going to randomly go over to another company because of the money, he just wants to be part of building XRP's ecosystem, and he's chosen this company to go to. So, and it means a lot. It's the first time other than Ripple. So, for everyone who just thinks XRP is all about Ripple and what Ripple does, there's now quite significantly big companies also are now going to be quite effective on how XRP's run and how much utility there is for XRP. And this is another company that's there. I imagine in 5-10 years from now, there's going to be so many companies that are using XRP. Maybe Ripple wouldn't be the one that we all always look out for headlines for. There'll be other companies with bigger headlines than Ripple. Remember, right now, there is no CEO of XRP. I want to make that clear because a lot of people think XRP has a CEO and Brad Garlinghouse is a CEO. There's thousands of companies that use XRP. It's not just Ripple. And here's another one. His advisory role effectively ties Evernorth back to the protocol design philosophy. Utility first, speculation second. That's always key. If we don't see any utility on a token, what's the point of holding it? You don't know what you're holding. It also marks the first time in we've read that. So it also marks the first time in years Schwartz has attached his name to a commercial initiative beyond Ripple itself. A move seen by many as a sign of renewed confidence in XRP's next growth cycle. In short, the technologist who helped build the network is now helping shape its institutional layer, and alignment gives Evernorth's launch far greater weighting than a typical SPAC listing. So here's some key takeaways for XRP investors. A publicly listed XRP Treasury vehicle backed by major institutional players now exists. Evernorth's model aims to combine reserve asset accumulation and yield utility development, a differentiated structure for the XRP ecosystem. Comparatively, XRP's corporate treasury strategies are far smaller than Bitcoin, Ethereum analogs. Evernorth may significantly change that scale dynamic. Investors should monitor the speed of XRP accumulation, average purchase prices, transparent disclosures of holdings, and performance of the yield utility deployment side. We're going to be covering this company's merge. We're going to be covering its IPO. We're going to be covering its earnings calls. We're going to be covering its purchases. We're going to be covering its average price. We're going to be covering its net asset value. We're going to be all over this, so make sure you are subscribed. The structure introduces new variables: open market tokenomic token demand, treasury accounting, valuation of the equity token holdings and yield business, and how market prices XRPN relative to underlying assets. Now, let's flip over to SBI Holdings, something that's always a little bit under the radar, but massive company. And it's a strategic backer and a long-time XRP partner, SBI Holdings. And it's also a partner with Ripple. So SBI Hold and also investing in this company. So what is SBI Holdings? SBI Holdings headquartered in Tokyo, Japan, massive market for XRP. People always forget about that. And led by Chairman and President Yoshitaka Kitoa, has taken a central role in Evernorth transition through US $200 million PIPE, private investment in public equity. Private investment in public equity commitment. The announcement released today, 21st of October, it might be tomorrow if you're watching this as a video, confirms SBI's participation alongside Ripple Labs as well, and other investors in Evernorth's planned NASDAQ listing under the ticker XRPN. Massive players are coming together to back this company. Let me read you this. This is their official letter that went out today. So, announcement of investment in Evernorth, operator of the XRP Treasury business. This is their official announcement. SBI Holdings today announced that it has invested in a PIPE, a private investment in a public equity financing for a US-based Evernorth Holdings Incorporated, alongside key SBI Group partner, US-based Ripple Labs Incorporated, and other investors. Mentioning Ripple there, that's quite significant. Evernorth is a company established to promote the adoption of the crypto asset XRP. It's just incredible. People that say XRP is a scam, it has no utility, it's going to go to zero. Look at this. This is literally the company has been made to promote the adoption of XRP. I mean, how much more bullish can you get? Imagine creating a company to just promote something. It's just, incredible. Anyway, I keep saying Evernorth. What is? Not Evernorth. Evernorth is a company established to promote the adoption of crypto asset XRP at an institutional scale. The company plans to list on the US NASDAQ market with the ticker XRPN for a business combination with Armada Acquisition Corp, a special purpose acquisition company, and is expected to raise a total of $1 billion. SBI Group will contribute $200 million in cash. Look at that. They've got Chris Larsen contributing about 50 million XRP. What's that? About $250 million. We've got another company from Japan giving 200 million in cash. They're not even giving XRP, they're just giving money in cash. 200 million, here you go. That is the announcement from them. What's the proceeds going to be used for? Well, the proceeds will be used primarily to purchase XRP on the open market. Here's 200 million in cash. Go buy some XRP is essentially what this company is saying, and do it on the open market. Even there more confirmation there that this purchase is going to be on the open market. To build one of the world's largest public XRP treasuries. This treasury endeavors to continuously increase its asset value, not only by holding XRP, but by actively utilizing institutional lending and decentralized finance. They're going to be growing their XRP through basically lending, DeFi, and utility. Furthermore, all financial reporting will be done independently, audited by a major audit firm designed to ensure a high level of transparency and governance. Literally telling you now, this is explaining what this company's going to do. It's going to be independently audited, which is always great to hear. And here we go. Here is a little sales pitch for XRP if you weren't bullish enough. XRP is one of the few digital assets with a clarifying regulatory framework in the US and a proven use case in global payments. One of few digital assets. There's thousands of cryptocurrencies, and this company is publicly listed company is saying it's only one of few. suggesting that 99% of the crypto market is full of rubbish and XRP is one of the winners. So again, let me read it again. XRP is one of the few digital assets with a clarifying regulatory framework in the US and a proven use case in global payments. This transaction will provide a simple and highly liquid investment opportunity in XRP for a reliable framework of regulated, audited, and publicly listed company. We believe Evernorth's approach, which seeks returns not just through market, but by participating in the growth of entire XRP Ledger ecosystem through activities such as operating an XRP Ledger validators, is extremely significant for accelerating the further adoption of XRP by institutional investors. They're saying they're going to buy XRP, it's going to go up in price, but that's not the only way they're making money. They're going to be running nodes, validating the system, making money that way. They're going to be DeFi, interest, and also they're saying this particular deal, and that's why we're making a video on it and saying it's so significant and maybe the most significant news this year on XRP is the fact that this is, their words, extremely significant for accelerating the further adoption of XRP by institutional investors. So the SBI Group has long promoted the practical use of XRP both in Japan. Remember, that's why it's so big in Japan, because of this company. They promoted the practical use of XRP both in Japan and internationally, including through establishment of SBI Ripple Asia, a joint venture with Ripple. This investment in Evernorth further strengthens these efforts and aligns with our group strategy to build an innovative financial ecosystem centered on digital assets. The SBI Group will continue to make every effort to contribute to the development of the XRP Ledger ecosystem and sound growth of the entire digital asset market. And if you want more information, you can actually contact them as well. So, who is this massive company then? Well, it's quite a significant company. So, SBI Holdings, remember this is the one that's just invested 200 million, and one that's been a long-term advocate of XRP, the one that's been partnered with Ripple. Who are they? So SBI Holdings is one of Japan's largest diversified financial conglomerates, active in banking, securities, asset management, venture capital, and digital asset businesses. The group operates over 200 subsidiaries and affiliates worldwide, and manages substantial blockchain and fintech investment portfolio. SBI was an early institutional adopter of digital asset technology, running the SBI VC Trade crypto exchange and SBI crypto minting unit, and maintaining long-standing strategic ties with Ripple Labs through their joint venture SB Ripple Asia, the entity that introduced Ripple Net payment solutions across Asian banking corridors. So this is how significant they are. They're the ones that actually partnered with Ripple Asia, and then they brought across Ripple Net payment. So why does this investment matter? SBI describes Evernorth as a company established to promote the adoption of crypto asset XRP as an institutional scale. Its $200 million contribution forms part of the $1 billion plus capital raise that will be used primarily for open market XRP purchases to build one of the world's largest XRP treasuries. The company will also deploy its holdings into institutional lending DeFi strategies rather than holding passively. SBI's statement emphasized these 3 points: transparency and governance, regulatory clarity for XRP, ecosystem participation. SBI framed the investment as consistent with strategy to build an innovative financial ecosystem centered on digital assets. The group believes Evernorth's model, linking balance sheet accumulation with ecosystem activity, can accelerate institutional adoption of XRP. So here's the strategic context. This is the last point on all of this. SBI has championed XRP integration for nearly a decade, using the token and the XRP ledger in remittance, FX, and settlement businesses across Japan and Southeast Asia. You can thank this company for a lot of utility for XRP in Asia. The firm has participated in nearly every major Ripple ecosystem initiative, including the MoneyTap consortium of Japanese banks and Ripple's on-demand liquidity services. The Evernorth investment extends that partnership into US capital markets, marking SBI's most direct participation yet in an XRP-based listed vehicle. With Evernorth's public listing expected in Q1 of 2026, SBI's involvement provides both financial credibility and regulatory familiarity to a structure designed for large-scale institutional access to XRP, positioning the group as a bridge between Asian fintech adoption and Western capital market participation in XRP's ecosystem. So there you go. SBI is a massive, massive part of this. They've actually got the largest treasury, I think, in the world for XRP, and now they're contributing $200 million just for this company to go out and buy some more XRP. Anyway, I think this is the biggest news of the year for XRP. Once we get that ETF as well, which I think, remember, so much nonsense out there. Everyone's saying, well, look at this deadline, look at this deadline. Remember, we were the first people to bring you the deadlines about a year ago, and we told you 200 days ago, and we told you exactly what dates will get approved. But then we were also the first to tell you about a month ago that ignore the deadlines, they don't matter anymore because there's a new way of listing. And then there was a shutdown anyway. And then we told you, don't worry about any ETF coming out because there's a shutdown. No one's going to be focused on bringing out an ETF. So ignore everyone else. They're all paid to say stuff. They all tell you to go leverage trade and lose all your money so they make money. We're here to tell you the real information. We don't hype it up. There's no need to. It's good. Don't expect to be rich overnight, but stay on top of the news. We'll give you all that news on this channel. There will be 2 other videos as well for you guys to go check out. There'll be the newsletter over here. Do go and subscribe to the newsletter as well. But yeah, good luck, guys. This is very interesting. Until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.